All right, Larry Krueger here from the Pig and a Pickle Krug Show with a little San Francisco Giant video. Jim Bowden, the former GM, has come up with his list of free agents and where they're headed, and we'll talk about where the Giants may go this winter. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of the Krug Show. Check them out in Emeryville and Corte Madera. Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. And this video is also brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Here's my lineup for Underdog Fantasy this weekend. I'm going Kadarius Toney higher than 9.5 receiving yards, Tyreek Hill higher than 7 receptions, Travis Kelce higher than a half a rushing or receiving touchdown, Isaiah Pacheco higher than 56.5 rushing yards, and Patrick Mahomes higher than 285.5 passing yards. You can enter the same as me, or you can make your own picks. Sign up using the link in the description and use that promo code Krug, K-R-U-E-G, and they'll match you up to $100. All right, let's talk a little baseball. We haven't talked a lot of baseball on the channel in a bit. Of course, the World Series goes to Bruce Bochy and the Texas Rangers. And what does that mean? The offseason is here, and it's time for teams like the Giants to get it rolling. Farhan Zaidi is the Giants GM. Bob Melvin is their new manager. What are they going to do this offseason? We'll be following it every step of the way. Now, a couple dates to keep in mind. November 7th through the 9th are the GM meetings. They're in Scottsdale, Arizona, so that's coming up in 3 days. And then a month from then, about December 4th through the 6th, the winter meetings will be held in Nashville, Tennessee. And that's usually when free agents start to sign and trades start to happen. And are the Giants going to make a big trade? A lot of talk that they may make a big offer for Mike Trout. Wouldn't that be something? But Jim Bowden, the former GM of the Reds and a couple other teams, the Nationals, is working for The Athletic. And he put together, and he does this every year, his annual free agent list. And he lists the free agents like 1 through 100 or whatever, and goes down the list and says who he thinks is, he talks a little bit about each guy and talks about, their potential free agent market, and then actually will list terms of what he thinks each free agent's going to get and teams that he thinks are going to be linked to these guys. So, eligible players technically become free agents the day after the World Series. They can't sign with a new team until 5 days after the final out of the World Series. So that's coming up here in a couple days. The number one free agent is Shohei Ohtani. And are the Giants going to go after him? They go after big names. They don't land any, but they've gone after big names. And this is the biggest of the big names. Shohei Ohtani is 29. He's a hitter. He's a pitcher. He's great. He transcends baseball. He's the modern day Babe Ruth. I mean, as a hitter this year, he hit 304 with a 412 on base, led the American League with 44 home runs, scored 102 runs, drove in 95, stole 20 bases, led the majors in slugging percentage, led the majors in OPS. Then as a pitcher, he went 10-5 with a 3.14 ERA and 23 starts, striking out 167 and walking 55 in 132 innings. Because of injury, he's not going to pitch in this upcoming 2024 season. So that complicates the deal. A lot of people think he's going to get $500 million. Bowden is projecting a 10-year, $477 million deal with incentives and escalators could take the deal to more than $500 million. I would say it's going to start at $500 million. And if the Giants want in, that's where they're going to have to realistically be. Now, they say the Dodgers are the front runner, but Texas, the Mariners, the Mets, the Red Sox, the Giants, the Cubs, the Phillies, the Blue Jays, all may have interest in Shohei Ohtani. My advice for the Giants is don't talk about it. Don't talk about it. Get it done, and then tell us afterwards what the terms are. Don't talk about it. Don't tease your fans anymore. Not after Aaron Judge, Carlos Correa, and that nightmare offseason last year. If you want to get them, get them. If you want to spend the money, spend it, but don't talk about it. That would be my advice to them. Now, but Bowden says the Giants are one of the teams in on Ohtani, so we'll see. The second best free agent is a guy named Yoshinobu Yamamoto. He's a 25-year-old right-handed pitcher who plays in Japan, and he's an interesting guy. He's a top of the rotation kind of a starter, number one starter, number two starter. The guy really knows how to pitch. He can add, he can subtract. He's got a fastball in the high to mid 90s. He's got a wipeout split finger pitch. He's got a plus curveball that he throws from kind of a funky arm angle. He won the pitching triple crown, which is ERA, strikeouts, and wins in Japan in each of the past 2 seasons for the Oryx Buffaloes. The Giants are one of the teams that are rumored to be interested in Yamamoto. They're saying to get him, it's going to take 7 years and $211 million. I can't really say much about him other than I've seen his highlights and I've seen his stats, and he looks dominating. But I can't say should they go get him or not. I really don't know. I don't know. But supposedly they're after him, and Farhan and his assistant GM have scouted him heavily. So we shall see. Now, looking at Bowden's list, he's got the Giants tied to a number of starting pitchers, and they need starting pitching, but they also need a hitter, and they need outfield help, and they need athleticism. They kind of need it all. But he says the Giants are one of the teams in on Jordan Montgomery, the left-handed pitcher who's 30, 6'6", about 230 pounds. He got traded from the Cardinals to the Rangers, and did he deliver for Texas. He went 4-2 with a 2.79 ERA and 11 starts with Texas, and then dominated in the ALCS with a 1.29 ERA. They're saying he's going to get 5 years, $127 million, and the Giants are one of 5 or 6 teams in on him. That's an interesting one. I like Jordan Montgomery quite a bit. I think he would be interesting. Another guy that could front the rotation. Another guy the Giants are linked to is Aaron Nola, the Phillies right-hander, who's 30. He allowed 32 home runs this year, but he really finished the year strong. And he's just a reliable, durable right-handed arm. They're saying 5 years, $125 million for Nola. Another guy, really solid starter. I don't think you could go wrong there. Blake Snell's an interesting name. 30-year-old left-handed pitcher, probably going to win the National League Cy Young Award this year. He went 14-9 with a 2.25 ERA. And you look at the numbers against him, nobody touches his curveball. The league hit 0.79 off his curve. Nobody touches his changeup. The league hit 185 off his change. The league hit 123 off his slider. So the Giants and Dodgers are supposedly all in on him as well. 5 years, $122 million. You can't go wrong with Blake Snell. I mean, I think that would be a great addition. Now let's get to some of the hitters. Cody Bellinger. Now this one makes sense. They're saying he's going to get a 6-year deal for $144 million. Boris is his agent. He had a great year in Chicago. He really had a bounce back year. Last year, I mean, the Cubs got him for 1 year for $17 million because he wanted to do a 1-year deal to try to jump back in the market and capitalize, and he's done that. Now, he hit 307. He had a 356 on base, 29 doubles, 26 homers, 95 runs scored, drove in 97, stole 20 bases. Why I like him for the Giants is he can play center field, he can play first base, he can play any of the 3 outfield spots, and he's an athlete. And he can play all over the place. And they don't know what they're going to need in the outfield or at first base. They don't have a solution in either spot, and he could be the solution for all of it. Another name that the Giants are not tied to, but there's a lot of rumors outside of Bowden's list, is that the Giants and Bob Melvin may reunite with Matt Chapman. What would that mean for Casey Schmidt? Would they play him at shortstop? I don't know. But he's a 3-time Gold Glove Award winner. He's got tremendous range. He's one of the greatest defensive third basemen I've ever seen. We're talking about a guy who's like Mike Schmidt, Matt Williams, Brooks Robinson, all rolled into one. He's one of the greatest defensive third basemen ever. They're saying he's going to get a 6-year deal for $127 million. I mean, he it's interesting. I'm not sure. I mean, he hit 240 this year. I mean, then you look at what he did. He had 27 home runs in 2021 and 2022, but only 17 this last year. Only drove in 54. Seems like a rich deal at 6 years and $127 million for a guy who might be in decline. He's 30, probably has 2 more years of control, but I mean, or 2 more years of prime, but 6 years. I don't know if I want Matt Chapman at 35 or 36. You could make an argument that could be a bad contract on the back end. So that one's interesting. Then there's Sonny Gray. Sonny Gray had a 2.79 ERA this year over 32 starts. They're saying he's going to get a 3-year deal for $64 million. I could see Sonny Gray coming here. He's been in the Bay. He knows Farhan. Farhan knows him. That one makes sense. Michael Wacha is a guy that I would steer clear from. They're saying he's going to get a 1-year deal for $16 million. We'll see. To me, Walker's best days are come and gone. And I think if you could dramatically overpay. Now, a 1-year deal is not a lot of risk there, but I'd say I'd pass on Michael Walker. Lucas Giolito's interesting. They're saying the Giants may be one of the teams in on him. They're saying he's going to get 2 years and $12 million per, so $24 million over 2 years. He did give up 41 home runs this year, and he needs to bounce back. But man, he's a big time horse of a pitcher, and I would take a chance on him. Giolito is intriguing to me. Another name that's intriguing because of the local ties is Reese Hoskins. I'm a Sac State guy, so Reese Hoskins went to Jesuit High School and he went to Sac State. He tore his ACL, his left ACL in spring training. They're saying he's going to get a 1-year deal for $12 million. He's a right-handed hitter with power. In a lot of ways, I think Reese Hoskins would be a nice first baseman for the Giants. And, the Farhan stated he wants to get local guys. This guy's local. Might be able to get him for a deal. Another guy that's being mentioned, Kyle Hendricks. The Cubs own a $16.5 million team option on him. Nobody really touches his changeup. The league hit 189 off his changeup. That's his best pitch. He's not a power pitcher. He's a finesse guy. They're saying he's going to get 12.5 a year, 2 years, $25 million. That sounds like the kind of deal I could see Farhan going for. Not a lot of risk there. So that might be interesting. I would steer clear of Kenta Maeda. He's 35. He's just coming off Tommy John surgery. I think his best ball is come and gone. One of the big questions in this free agent market is Michael Conforto. The Giants signed him to a 2-year, $36 million deal. So he's got he's a Boris guy. He's got an option for $18 million. Does he opt in or does he opt out? I'd rather see him opt out. I mean, he hit 239 with 15 home runs and 58 RBIs. To me, that's not worth $18 million. But the way baseball works is when guys have stats where you say, I wish he'd opt out, they typically opt in. And I agree with Bowden. He's guessing he's going to opt in. Now, one of the mystery names in the market is Jung-Hoo Lee, the center fielder from the KBO, who's 25, coming out of Korea. Is he going to hit is the question. Is he a 270 type hitter or is he a 300 type hitter? He's a great contact hitter, and he's a great defensive player, and he draws a lot of walks. They're saying he's a plus defensive center fielder. He's got a strong arm. The Giants are one of the teams interested in him. All I would say is, he's awfully slight. He's only 172 pounds. So you kind of wonder, can he stand up to the rigors of a 162-game season? I might steer clear here, but this guy could also be an igniter at the top of the lineup, and they really do need that. A guy who might be a lot cheaper at the top of the lineup is Harrison Bader, who played with the Reds and Yankees this last year, and he didn't have a great year, but he is a good defensive player. He's a plus runner, 20 steals and 23 attempts. If you could figure him out offensively, they're saying he's going to get 1 year at $8 million, so he's relatively cheap. I'd rather take a 1-year flyer on Harrison Bader and then go all in on this kid out of the KBO, Jung-Hoo Lee, and maybe, not have money to spend in other areas. Jung-Hoo Lee to me seems like a risk. Bader at $8 million for 1 year seems like a very low risk. Then there's Kyle Gibson, who's a back of the rotation innings eater. You could always use innings, that's for sure. 6'6" righty. Interesting guy for sure. If at the right price, he might be a good addition. And then there's the non-tender market. Guys who are not tendered, they're arbitration eligible, and they could potentially not be tendered a contract. That deadline's coming up in December. But like the Reds have Nick Senzel, very athletic, multiple position guy, can play third, can play center. He's headed to arbitration at $3 million. It's pretty reasonable cost. I've always liked Senzel. I'd be interested in him. Another guy that I would have interest in the non-tender market, Jorge Mateo. Crawford's not coming back. You don't know who your shortstop of the future is. Is it Marco Luciano? The one thing about a guy like Jorge Mateo, he can flat out fly. I mean, the guy can really run. I mean, he might be the best base runner in the game, or if not the best, he's close to it. And he only made $2.9 million. I don't know how much he's going to hit, But as far as if you want an igniter and some athleticism at the top of the lineup, and watching the Diamondbacks and how they won games and all the speed they have, I'd like to have Jorge Mateo. I'd give Jorge Mateo the shortstop ABs that are or games that I'm not giving to Marco Luciano. Those guys could share shortstop. That might work out. And another name that's interesting in the non-tender market is Trent Grisham. Good player, line drive hitter, former Padre. If Melvin has a good relationship with him, he's interesting. Another guy that's interesting to me is Ramon Laureano, another guy that Melvin probably knows from Oakland. Laureano, I think, is the kind of igniter and high energy guy that I really like. Another guy in the non-tender market that I think could be a steal is Tuki Toussaint, the right-handed pitcher, former Brave, who's now at the White Sox, has a big overhand curveball and has pitched in a lot of different roles. So there you have it. I mean, there's a lot of names there for sure. Obviously Shohei Ohtani is the prize of the market. There's a lot of talk about the Giants maybe trading for a Mike Trout, but that gives you kind of a little breakdown of some of the guys that they've been linked to and some of the names that may make sense for the Giants this offseason. Thanks for watching our video. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of the Krug Show. And, of course, thanks to Underdog Fantasy. And you can enter the same people as me this week in your Underdog Fantasy picks, or you can make your own picks. Sign up using that link in the description. Use that promo code Krug, and they'll match you up to $100. And thanks to all you guys for supporting the Krug Show on YouTube.